So number one on our list is exhibit more empathy. And why is that? Because in the last few years, technology has been something of an enigma that has caused us to become more connected but less empathetic. Things that usually bother us, such as deaths, tragedies, etc., no longer really give us that emotional tug that it used to. I think we've been desensitized by our dependence on media, social media, TVs, video games, etc., and the amount of violence and negative imagery that we see on there or experience, and it has caused a negative effect on our interpersonal and intrapersonal relationships. How can we get more empathy? Well, the best way to be more empathetic is to actually emote. Put yourself in somebody else's shoes. If somebody's going through a bad breakup or a bad situation with their family, etc., we have the ability to be more empathetic and reason with them. So that's the first thing in 2020 that we need more of. But I got this icebox where my heart used to be. The second thing that we have to do more in 2020 is be honest, even with yourself. Now, this is a very difficult thing because in all reality, we lie to ourselves every day.
Is it good for you? I've had better.
On the hour, on the minute, we're constantly lying to ourselves. Why do we do that? More times than not, we want to believe that we have the answers, or we want to believe that we can change a particular situation that we may or may not have control over. And that's what gets us into trouble. When we know, hey, this person is not the right person for me to be dealing with in a relationship, or this person does not have the skill set that I want, or friendships, family, anything about it. I mean, we all lie to ourselves. It's something that we struggle with on the daily. And in 2020, being more honest with yourself is going to help improve your relationships, improve your situationships, improve your life with yourself, improve your relationship with yourself. You're going to say, hey, I know I'm not supposed to be doing this, or I really know that this is not my style, so I'm not going to go ahead and do it. When we acknowledge these things and when we actually take into consideration that by lying to ourselves, we're going against ourselves, understand that the negative relationships, the negative situations that we have to learn through, that we may not have done that if we were just honest with ourselves. So if you don't understand what I mean, say you're dating someone and you have these feelings that they possibly are negative, or they're possibly a cheater, whatever the case may be. You have these perceptions about them, or you get this sixth sense like, I don't know if I should really deal with them. If you get those feelings, your gut instinct is really telling you what's going on. Now, it's not foolproof, it's not 100% of the time, but most of the time, your gut is not going to lie to you. So if you get into that relationship and go against your gut, lie to yourself, etc., and you find yourself in an abusive relationship or a cheating relationship or toxic, whatever the case may be, you have to understand, how did I get into this situation? By not being honest with myself, by not being honest with the other person. We can't be honest with other people. I mean, we can, but we can't truly be honest with the people until we're honest with ourselves. In order to be better for 2020, we just got to be honest with ourselves. We have to accept the cold, hard truth of things that we may not want to. Third thing that we're going to deal with is limiting the control of fear in your life. Why is that important? Because number one, we don't get to fully experience life unless we live it fully. And what I mean by that is we actually do things that we're afraid of. We actually put ourselves in uncomfortable positions so that we may grow as human beings. The reality is that fear never really goes away. You can never be, not fearless, but you can never not have fear, if that makes any sense. For most of us, fear has been something instilled in us by parents, media, society, etc., and it's not really based in any type of reality. Fear is just something that you put in your mind to block you from the obstacles or to prevent you from going through the obstacle. The only thing that can combat fear is actually combating the fear. So I shot this portion of the video in a boiler room because I had a fear of boilers from watching Home Alone. And I thought that in order to combat my fear of a boiler room, I would have to go in the boiler room and see that there's really no boogeyman there, there's no monsters. If they are, I can't really see them. Do you guys see anything in my shadows? I can't really see them, but it's liberating. You have to actually put yourself in a position to want to change. And in the words of the great FDR, the only thing to fear is fear itself. And that's a fact. Boop. So, the fourth thing that we need to do more of in 2020 is give more. In 2020, we need to give more and expect less. Number one, it's the law of the universe. There's a saying that goes, it's better to give than it is to receive. And that's a real tangible law. It's not even a thought or an opinion. It's more helpful to give more than you receive because you're doing more for the community and more for the humanity, if you'll say, more by giving than you will by taking. If you're taking, most of the time it's for selfish gain or for personal reasons. But if you give, you're helping another person, which kind of inspires people to pay it forward and help somebody else and help somebody else. And then you created a chain reaction just by giving. And the other half of this is expect less. Now, why do we expect less? Because number one, expectations lead to disappointments. So if you expect that somebody's going to do something, they have their own rights and their own laws, their own feelings and thoughts, and they might not think that they have to do anything. So just think about it like this. Some people have, if I do this, you have to do this for me. Or remember the time I did this for you, so now you have to do this for me. And that type of if-then mentality doesn't breed the best relationships and doesn't breed the best situations moving forward. You can't have an expectation that somebody's going to do something for you just because you did something for them. And that should be that's one of the worst reasons to ask someone to do something for you because you did something for them, because it's kind of like, you're essentially taking back that positive aspect or the positive thing that you did by reminding the person that you helped them out. So one thing that we need to do more of, give more and expect less. The fifth and last thing that we have to do more in 2020 is limit social media usage. Before you crucify me, think about what I'm saying. There's been so many studies that have determined how unhealthy that social media is for your brain. Causes a spike in dopamine. Dopamine being the feel-good. Whatever it is, dopamine makes you feel good. And when you use social media, the likes cause a spike in dopamine. Certain pictures and things like that, they cause a spike in dopamine. And what social media really does is cause a false sense of reality by falsifying our perceptions. How does social media falsify our perceptions? Well, let's just say you see a really nice girl and she's in a relationship with a really nice guy. They're smiling, they're going on trips, but in reality, they have an abusive relationship. She's cheating on him, he abuses her, yada, 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 or whatever the case may be. We don't know what a person is really doing on social media. We can't verify that. We can't get a blue check to say, hey, you're really living the life that you show on social media in the street. You're really living the life in the street that you show us on social media. Most people don't do that. How many people show you pictures of when they first wake up? How many people show you pictures when they're sick? Unless they're being attention whores or trying to get sympathy is another thing. The sympathy drivers on social media. Another reason that we got to limit our social media usage in 2020 is because it causes a negative self-image. And it causes us to see ourselves as less than or as lacking of or not being as important enough or liked enough, whatever the case may be. It causes a false negative self-image. And just with those three things alone, I don't want something that I use every day to change my perspective on how I see myself, whether that be a person, a friend, a device, a social media network, a social networking site, whatever the case may be. I don't want that thing to change my perspective. So these are 5 things that we should do more in 2020. I'm going to leave a link in the description below to the article. And stay tuned. I got a lot of new things coming for the new year, so stay tuned. You already know. You already know. It's going to be a lot of new things, a lot of development of things that I've been brewing the last 6 months. So they're going to start to come in fruition. This is 2020, means you can see clear. Pay attention. See you soon.
Depended on Paulie, and he got a piece of everything they made. It was tribute, just like in the old country, except they were doing it here in America. And all they got from Paulie was protection from other guys looking to rip them off. And that's what it's all about. That's what the FBI could never understand. That what Paulie and the organization does is offer protection for people who
Mr. Extravagant Taste, he came from out of the space. She tell Victoria's Secrets, body covered in lace. She was amazing, you could tell by her grace. Hand clutching the thighs, dick tongue in the face. I was running the race for that #1 place. They kept trying to get me, put a stop to the chase. I'm coming for papes while I'm